Welcome to Real Talk Realtors, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of real estate with a mission to empower and educate realtors like you to build thriving businesses rooted in integrity and community. I'm Laura.
And I'm Amanda. We are two seasoned real estate agents in the Dallas-Fort Worth market. Together, we are dedicated to elevating the real estate industry, making a real positive impact on our communities. Get ready for candid discussions, expert interviews, and a healthy dose of inspiration.
All right, well, today we are going to talk about time blocking.
Yes.
It is one of the biggest things that we start off talking about in coaching because it's one of the most important. But even though it is one of the most important things, I feel like it's one of the things that people struggle with the most.
Oh, absolutely.
And I feel like for me anyways, the hardest part is not necessarily blocking off the time, but sticking to the schedule that you block out for yourself. So today I want to jump into what is time blocking, what kind of activities should you time block, and then why we need to do that, why it's so important, and then how, some practical tips on things that you can do to set in place to make sure we're actually following through with that. So let's start with what. So what is time blocking? How would you describe it?
There's all kinds of different time blocking, but for me, what kind of worked best for me was just strategically putting in my calendar blocks of time, like 1 to 2 hours at a time of where I would go and do focus work. So whether that be client management, whether it be social media planning, but during that block of time, you would have that whole little block to work on. That time it's focused, your phone's on do not disturb, and you can get the most done within that time period.
Yeah, I love that focused time.
Yes.
So it's not just time you block off to, kind of scroll Facebook and do this
right.
and that, but you are focusing in on a specific task.
Yes.
And for that time that you've blocked off, you're working on that one specific thing. So I love that. So what kind of activities do you usually time block for on your calendar?
So like I said kind of before, your client management, marketing, and then also just, you also want to have admin time, which is really important because that is kind of something that can rule your day, especially when you're in the midst of transactions and putting out fires, but when you're going back and forth, switching from a different activity, you lose your focus and then you have to kind of get refocused again. So definitely making time for those admin, returning emails, returning phone calls to your clients, that kind of thing.
Yeah. For me, the biggest thing that I like to time block is lead generation time.
Yes.
So I try every morning at 9 o'clock, and I say try because it is a non-negotiable item, but we're in real estate. So I'm not of the mindset that this can never ever move, but it is a top priority for me. It is a top priority item. Every once in a while things happen. You have to move stuff around. We've got to be flexible, but I try every morning at 9 to 11. That is my lead generation time. It is my time to make phone calls, write handwritten notes. I'm putting pop-bys together, whatever. And so the sign goes on the door, do not disturb. My phone goes off, and that is time to sit and focus on them.
Yeah, absolutely. And really kind of doing that from the beginning and getting in that habit of prospecting to get new clients. That's how you are going to stay in business.
Yes. So that leads right into the why.
Yes.
So why do we do this?
Yes.
And I think specifically as it pertains to money-making activities. So talking about lead generation and setting aside time to fill that pipeline. Our why. So why do we time block? You have to give every hour of your workday an assignment, or you can find yourself with good intentions but procrastinating.
Oh yeah.
And so if you don't, if you aren't really intentional to block off that time and then look at your calendar and go, oh, okay, well, I blocked off this hour to call people, so I'm going to sit and focus on calling people.
Right.
But I've been reading this book by Rory Vaden called Take the Stairs, and it is so good. But one of the things that he said about procrastination that I love is he said procrastination is a creditor that charges you interest. So it's something that in the moment gives you something. You're procrastinating a task that you don't really want to do, but it's going to charge you interest.
Oh,
so in the long run, it costs you something to do that. So being intentional with putting time on your calendar to do these things, but then following through with it.
Absolutely. That's the most important.
The key. Yes. So you can put things on your calendar all day long, but if you're not actually taking the time to sit and do those things, what's the point? And so he also says that easy short-term choices lead to difficult long-term consequences, but difficult short-term choices lead to easy long-term consequences.
I love that. Difficult short-term
choices
lead to long-term consequences.
Yeah.
I love that.
And so this is exactly that. It is making those short-term difficult choices to sit down and actually stick to your time blocking. That's going to lead to the long term of a full pipeline,
yes,
business, and all of those things that are just flowing in after a while. But if you choose the procrastination, which is the short term, easy thing, to sit and not do those things because you're scared or you're worried how people are going to react or you just don't have the energy to do it or whatever, the long term consequence is that you're going to be sitting at your desk 4 to 6 weeks from now with nothing in your pipeline.
Absolutely. Yep.
No business.
Because the work you do today will produce the income in 90 days.
That's exactly it. So that's why for sure that this is so important. Do you have anything else on the why?
So one thing that I found that helps with prospecting and kind of time blocking is the day before. So when you're shutting down your work day, go ahead. You know you have prospecting hours the next morning. Then go ahead and gather that list of names that you're going to be contacting, or write out the list of who you're going to be writing a handwritten thank you card to. Like, have that ready to go, so that way you're not spending your hour of prospecting time doing the research and figuring out who you're going to be you reaching out to.
And that could be something else you time block.
Yes.
At the end of your day, you block out 15 minutes. Like, these don't have to be hour-long blocks. You block out 15 minutes to sit down and shut down your day and think through. So I always pull up my calendar for the next day. What all do I have going on? And then I'm thinking through, okay, what do I need to do in my morning?
Yes.
What people am I contacting? What group of people? So I kind of have my people grouped, you know, that I met from, maybe from church or from a food drive that I did last year or from the school or whatever. And so maybe tomorrow I'm going to focus on the people I met at school or my daughter's school. And so I put out that list, and then you can sit down and for your hour that you're lead generating, you're just knocking it out.
Yes, because I know for me, like the procrastination, that totally resonates with me. And so to help me through that, that's what I found has worked the best.
For sure. That's great. Okay, so now the how. So that's a little bit of the how. So it's another good little segue there. But how do we actually make this happen? Like, what are tangible things that we can do? And I think that's a great first one is we're going to sit down at our desk the day before or at home or wherever you work best and think through who you're going to contact. But I think even before that, some people don't know the answer to that. Who am I contacting? How many people should I be contacting? And so I think the real first step is going to be goal setting.
Yeah.
We have to sit down with our coach or our mentor or whoever we have holding us accountable and learn how to goal set.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And that could be a whole nother podcast later. But we are blessed enough to have a great mentor and coach, Shanna, our broker, who has this system kind of ironed out where we can sit down and go, okay, I know that I need to make this much money next year. And so to do that, I need to have this many transactions. And to have this many transactions, I need to talk to this many people.
You're working backwards.
Every day. And you reverse engineer it. So you have to sit and think about, what do I need to achieve next year? What do I want to achieve? And then work with somebody that knows how to do this.
Yes.
A coach of some sort, a mentor, and work that backwards with them to see how many people do I even need to be contacting every day? And how many handwritten notes do I need to be writing every week? How many pop buys do I need to be sending out every month? Like, you have to know your numbers. Otherwise, how do you ever know if you've ever actually achieved your goal?
Right.
You can sit and make phone calls all day long and write handwritten notes and have 20 transactions the next year, but was that your goal?
Yep.
That's so were you doing enough?
Things I wish I would have done early on is really gotten to the habit of tracking and, because you don't know.
How do you know if you achieved it?
Yep.
How do you know if you need to call more people or call less people or whatever?
You don't know what's working, where you want to spend your time and energy.
Exactly. So have a coach, I think is super important, or a mentor, somebody that can help guide you through that conversation.
Absolutely.
Know how many people you want to contact. That's going to be a big part of this. And I think by knowing how many people, you kind of know how much time you need to block that off. And then one big thing that we do in our company that I think really sets the tone for this and lays it out super easy for us is the blitz. You want to talk about the Blitz?
Yeah, absolutely. I love the Blitz.
Yeah.
So each quarter we do what is called the Blitz. So we have an amazing sheet that we work from. So it has different activities that we do each day, each week, and each month that has a certain point value. So every day we track and we're kind of list who you've written a letter to, who you've kind of popped by and said hello, how many videos you've done, all kinds of fun things, and we'll throw in some bonus things. But each activity has a certain point value, and then at the end of the quarter, you add up all the points, and if you've met the minimum point goal, then you get to go on our Blitz Day. And so we have had so many fun adventures around DFW and even outside of DFW.
We did a day trip to Disney.
That was the best.
That was the best. So Shannon, if you're listening, day trips to Disney are always on the table.
Yeah.
But we've done spa days.
Yes.
What are some of the other good ones?
Tourist in Fort Worth.
Tourist for a day.
Yep.
Pool day.
Pool day.
That's
always fun.
That was good.
I love that.
Oh, we did the comedy club.
Yes.
We did dinner and then went to a comedy club together. So it's a great time for us all to get together and bond and have fun together. But our broker gives us incentives to do what we should be doing anyways, which is our job.
Yep, absolutely.
So that's great.
Yeah.
And a lot of fun. But so the Blitz though, the form itself is a great thing to time block.
Oh
and
gosh,
just
yes.
block off an hour to sit and work on your Blitz form. And then you don't really have to do too much planning the day before because it's already planned out for you. So you can just sit down, and I always just work my sheet from top to bottom and see what they're all money making tasks. So what kind of tasks that I need to be working on that day. Okay. Anything else on the how? What other good tangible tips do you have for time blocking and making sure that you stick to it?
I would just do that right off the bat. For sure, and get into that habit. You really need to. Real estate, it's so easy just to get in the habit of just letting work try to come to you and not going after the work and
waiting for your phone to ring,
being reactive and not proactive. And so just really get into the habit of, when you first get into real estate, that's got to be your number one task is get your time management under order and
know what you're doing every day. It's so easy to get into the office and sit down and open your computer and get ready and then go,
what do I do?
I don't really know what to do today. I did that a lot when I first started. I would get into the office and I'd be so excited to go to the office and go to work, and then I'd get there and I'd go, I don't know what to do. How do you find clients? How do you make your phone ring? I don't know what to do. So that's another thing I love about the Blitz is it literally lines out.
Yes.
These are the things that you do. And I never had that whenever I first started.
No, I didn't either. So it's really good, especially, you just open it up and
sit down and do it.
Yep.
Another quote
about it.
Yeah, another quote from Rory that I loved. He said, "Balance is not equal time on equal activities. It should be appropriate time on critical priorities."
Oh, I love that.
We talk about work-life balance all the time, or balancing, admin tasks to lead generating tasks, and make sure you're working on your business and in your business and all these things. And I loved that quote because it's so true. It is not necessarily work-life balance. It is not necessarily spending 2 hours on lead generation, then 2 hours on admin, and then 2 hours on whatever. It is spending the appropriate amount of time on the critical activities.
Yes, absolutely.
And so that's what we're talking about here today, and what we can't express to you enough, especially newbies, but really everybody in this business, is getting those critical activities. So these are the money-making activities. These are picking up your phone and calling people, sitting down and writing those handwritten notes, showing up to people's houses. We're basically talking about showing people that you care about them.
Yes.
Relationship building, just caring for people in your community. Those are your critical activities, which is why I love my job so much, because we get to just love on people and build relationships with people, and in a very authentic way, not like a salesy or whatever kind of way. And if we're doing the appropriate amount of time on those things, everything else will literally just fall into place.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. It's funny that you said kind of that salesy. When I first got into real estate, I didn't realize that you are in sales.
Yeah.
Like I did not realize that. And I didn't realize you had to go and prospect and do all these things. You know, I guess I wasn't really sure what I thought, how I was going to get clients. But
so whenever people say to me, like, hey, Laura, I'm thinking about getting my real estate license. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so exciting. Okay, tell me about it. And my favorite thing to tell people is, okay, let's just imagine. Let's envision you've gone to school, you have your license, okay? You're ready to go and, like, help a client. So you get to the office, like, what are you doing? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm going to help somebody buy a house. I'm like, cool. Who are you going to help buy a house? And they're like, well, I don't know. I'm like, well, I don't think people realize your broker doesn't just send you people to help. Not always. You know, you can get some leads from your broker here and there, but you really got to get out there and make it happen for yourself. And you have to grind it out.
One of the biggest misconceptions that I found out, and you know, even years later, I still hear it from agents, you know, those first couple of years, you can't rely on your friends and family to use you.
No, you really can't.
That was like the biggest heartbreak ever.
The biggest heartbreak. We had somebody in our life group when I first got my license back when I lived in Oklahoma. And I was just young and new and so excited and hungry and wanted to work. And we had live group that night and they're like, guys, we just put our house on the market, signs in the yard. And I was like, the wind was just knocked out of me.
What about me?
Like, what just happened?
Yes.
And I was just telling somebody this the other day that I think the longer you're in this business, the thicker your skin gets.
Absolutely. You grow backbone quickly.
You do. And you also realize that it's not personal.
Yes.
It is not a personal attack on you. If a friend or a family member does not use you, they could have a million different reasons for making the choice to pick somebody else.
They may be embarrassed about something or not want to share real personal information.
They may have an uncle that's been doing it for 20 years and has told them, like, you know, you have to use me. And if they don't, Thanksgiving gets real awkward. So you just never know the reasons behind somebody not using you. And it is not a personal attack.
Right.
It does not have anything to do usually with you. It just happens.
Yes.
And it happens to all of us.
Yes.
So I think that
sometimes you can look back and say, oh, that was a blessing in disguise too.
For sure. Like, oh, that transaction went south real quick. I'm real glad I'm not a part of that. Absolutely. Okay, well, last second tips, tricks for time blocking. Any other last
Just
minute
make
thoughts?
it a priority.
Yeah.
Like, you have to run this business as a full-time job. Like, otherwise you will have part-time pay.
That's exactly it. Oh, I love that. So quick recap. Time blocking, time blocked off on your calendar, non-negotiable time, with very few exceptions because we are fun and flexible, but it is non-negotiable time blocked off on your calendar. It's an appointment with yourself.
Yep.
Keep your appointments with clients. Keep your appointments with yourself. Sit down and actually do the activities. And so we're talking about lead generation, mostly money-making activities, but they can also be, block that off first and foremost, but then block off some time for admin stuff and marketing.
Real quick, I have a story. Okay, so you can kind of think of it as different size rocks. So big rocks are going to be your money-making activities, your phone calls, your that relationship building, and then you have the little pebbles. So that's going to be, things like your admin tasks, your marketing, and then you're going to have sand. That's going to be all the other things coming at you, emails, like putting out the fires, that kind of thing. So if you put the sand in first, if you put you're putting your daily activities, your emails, that kind of stuff ahead of your big rocks, you're going to fill this jar up and you're not going to be able to fit those big rocks in there. But if you put the big rocks in first, and then you put the smaller stones in, and then you fill it with sand, everything will be able to fit, and it'll fall into place.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I think that's a great note to end on.
Yes.
All right. If you guys have questions about time blocking that we didn't cover today, put it in the comments, email us, text us, whatever. We're available. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
All right. That was pretty good.